Ia langi maina lau whaafonga le nei foi whaapoponga le tātou prokalama o le KokoBytes. Talofa, talofa lava. Welcome to another edition of our program, KokoBytes, where we keep your cup of Koko Samoa full and rich of innovations and creativity in American Samoa's tech community. I am Ginger Porter, your host, with my co-host, Michael McDonald from the American Samoa Department of Commerce. Talofa lava, Michael.
Aloha, Ginger. How are you?
Oh, good. I'm really good here in Hawaii. It is a hurricane season, so we're up and prepping for those as well. On top of a pandemic. So we're expecting our we're expecting our first hurricane on Sunday. So, and that's it's a storm right now, but Douglas is moving towards Hawaii. So not looking forward to that.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Now that I think about it, of course, our hurricane season here in American Samoa is different than yours up there in the northern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow. Well, good luck. Batten down the hatches. Hopefully it doesn't do much damage, and hopefully it just passes you guys all together.
I hope so too, but lots of preparations, right? Hurricane season on top of a pandemic. You have a cup of Koko Samoa right there.
Right, that's a double whammy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today's topic, we're going to be talking about education and distance learning opportunities there, right? Education plus broadband, you have that combination of success in education, right? How are we in American Samoa moving forward in using broadband to deliver quality education?
Right. I'm excited for today's conversation, Ginger. This is a very, very important topic, and I have some trivia for you. Mm-hmm. Did you know that American Samoa launched one of the very first distance learning programs, of course, more commonly known as ETV, back in 1962? Right. I think most of us who grew up here are familiar with that program. This is why the cable car here in Utule it was constructed. But yeah, when you think about it, that was really the very first distance learning program that I can recall. And so in many ways, we were ahead of our time way back in 1962.
Absolutely.
So, we've come a long way, and with the broadband resources we have today and the technology that we have today in our schools, the sky's the limit in terms of what we can do. And so I'm excited to talk to our next guest, who I think you're going to bring in here any second now.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and open the door. All right. So I think, there he goes. Talofa lava, Sonny.
Talofa, Sonny. How are you?
Oh, Sonny's on mute.
Talofa lava, sorry about that. Great to see you, Mike and Ginger.
Good to
Talofa,
see you.
Welcome to the program.
Yeah. So our guest today is Mr. Sonny Leomiti, and he is currently the Vice President of Administration and Finance at the American Samoa Community College. And he's been in that position since 2019. Prior to that appointment, Mr. Leomiti spent 6 years as the Director of Institutional Effectiveness and 8 years as a full-time instructor for the American Samoa Bachelors in Education program, and was contracted for 3 years to lead the college's dialogue on general education outcome and program learning outcome assessment. And Sonny, in 2015, was the lead Accreditation Liaison Officer for the accreditation, which he still currently holds at the American Samoa Community College. So Mr. Leomiti is also a former elementary and middle school teacher, where he spent 10 years of his career and was given the recognition as District Teacher of the Year in 2004. Welcome, Sonny, to KokoBytes.
Thank you. That's a lot of information.
Yeah, and these are a lot of good information, right? This is what makes a person. So congratulations on your career thus far. So much has happened.
Thank you, Ginger.
So we like to start our show by asking our guests, what keeps you from going coconut?
Definitely, it's not fall of it, obvious. But as an educator, being an educator is what keeps me motivated. Knowing that there's a bigger purpose to serve our people, and knowing that my role or the role of an educator impacts students directly or indirectly to achieve their educational goal, something I hold dear to my heart. So every morning I get up, okay, it's someone's career path that I'm investing time to, perhaps no longer directly, but indirectly. But that's what keeps me going, and that's what helps me keep afloat with the many challenges in our career nowadays. Yeah.
Wow. Well, great. Thank you, Sonny, for your service to the people of American Samoa. It is a tough job as an educator, and it takes a lot of energy to do what you do. So thank you so much for doing what you do. But I wanted to jump right into this COVID-19 pandemic, right? Going back to, I believe it was March 23rd when all the schools were shut down, all the public schools, all the private schools, including ASCC. Can you take us back, a few months and discuss and share with us how that affected the college and how you guys responded to being closed down? I mean, this was in the middle of the spring semester. And so I'm sure everybody was caught off guard by it like everybody else was. So if you can share a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yes, with COVID-19, it surely shifted the college's institutional priorities. It became an added priority to the college. And yes, we had to pretty much revert all of our traditional classroom teaching face-to-face to online. It was a struggle, to tell you the truth, mainly because we had to shift all courses on our course management system on Moodle. And at the same time, we had a lot of challenges in regards to faculty and staff needs on methodologies. Now, ASCC is not a certified distance education program, but we had the means, thank goodness, to P2K and the launching of Moodle and course management systems. We had presented in the past several sessions for the buy-in for faculty to utilize Moodle. However, not all faculty and chairpersons or programs, academic programs here at the college, took advantage of that opportunity. But we do have one program whose courses are 100% on Moodle, but we do not deliver these courses online. They use it more as a conduit of information, communicating information. So they were pretty much the role models during that time. And I know from that Friday when the governor had released his official first declaration for the COVID-19 pandemic, we were only given an amount of days to make sure that all of our courses were online and that faculty and staff were given some kind of training to prepare to offer these services online. So it was a roller coaster ride, in other words, and mainly because there's so many issues. Issue number one, we don't offer courses online. Issue number two, making sure that we had professional development on the site, last minute training to prepare faculty, prepare staff on how to become Moodle users or provide online services. So that was the biggest hurdle during COVID-19.
It sounds like, though, you guys were able to accomplish that and finish off the semester, if I heard correctly, right? You guys continued the education, the classes, albeit virtually, and finished off the semester?
Correct. 7 weeks when the declaration was issued, we were 7 weeks remaining in the spring semester. And we've completed everything, online. which prompts so many other challenges, our status with accreditation and other guidelines that we had to make sure that we had tied. Although there were a lot of rule bendings, even with USDE to accommodate colleges during the COVID-19 pandemic, it doesn't negate from the fact that we should be accountable and compliant.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, just thinking about it, right? So this shift in online learning for a institution like ASCC, right, where traditional learning takes paramount. So, from what resources are given to teachers, right, available for them, even to students, right? Because now it questions, does the student have access to internet at their homes, right? To be, or even the devices, the computer, so that they can complete their courses from remotely, right? So not on campus. So lots of things, lots of challenges, I would imagine, right? So, because it wasn't something we were anticipating, right?
Yes.
So lots of those types of things. Well,
yeah, so we tried, to accommodate, that was another big challenge itself. The college did provide several means that within our budget to accommodate those needs for teachers and students. And we were very flexible at the same time. Because of the nature of the pandemic, no one is to blame. And we made it clear throughout our training, we don't blame faculty for not teaching. We don't blame students for not getting in their assignments. It's something out of the norm and out of our control. But we were very accommodating on that same note.
Marlo.
Yeah. So you mentioned Project P2K, right? So that was Project 2000, where it introduced different distance learning modalities, distance learning systems and tools at ASCC. And it was right at the turn of 2000 where we thought, okay, everything is going to shut down, right? So that P2K. So it was a cool name then. It's still a cool name now. But you've been in education, for a while, and you've seen some of that evolution, right? So can you just share a little bit about some of the highlights of the evolution of educational technology in your experience? Could be from your time as a teacher in DOE and then moving over to ASCC.
Thank you, Ginger. I can recall from the top of my head the year 1996-98. And that's important to me because that's when the public school system had access to the internet. Now, the access to the internet itself opened the pathways to information. And it prompted a lot of different plans where we now have computer teachers to get people to familiarize themselves and on the skills, but surfing the net was something big, and mainly the access to information. So that's one thing I call from the top of my head from 1996 to 98. It cannot be very specific at what year. The second one, I believe, is what you shared, was in 2003 with the launching of P2K. That was an eye-opener because it linked to distance learning, and it evolved pretty much to the point where we were able to accommodate the needs of our people in different sides of the islands, to include Aonu'u and Manua, where we can conduct courses as well as requirements that they need in credentials and services. So that's when I first met you,
Right.
Ellen Mizato,
Yeah.
Nomura. Yeah,
and we would spend hours after hours to develop these curriculum, right?
And it sticks with me because not only did I take the course, but at the time being, I remember while I was taking the course, I had to go to an off-island conference in Milwaukee. And then the question was, because we didn't have any internal controls on attendance and I was leaving island, I was tested as to if it was possible for me to complete the coursework. And I believe the negotiation made between ASCC and DOE at the time, I recall Sal Poloi and Tapal, along with Andra Samoa and Norman Okomura, defining the purpose of distance learning, and let's use this as a test, right? So I believe I was the guinea pig at the time. And I did. I made sure I developed my courses. I made sure I wrote the plans out, and I submitted it based on the syllabus that was given to me, and completed the course, which later on provided the opportunity for me to teach the first distance education course with about 164 students.
Wow.
In the meeting, but in multiple sites.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
was that
was
Sonny?
one thing that I keep in my mind, because it's something that I almost dug my grave, a lot of work, but it's something momentous for American Samoa as well. The other thing was the launching of Hawaii, and that was the increase of broadband. So that's something too, because it did benefit the college big time in terms of internet speed, internet connection, and connection reliability. And lastly, COVID-19,
Yes.
because that really turned the college around with the status of considering online or distance education.
That's a great
so
line, that you just laid out. And then I'm going to let Michael share a little bit about what he told me, as his trivia before you jumped on the call, because then that takes us back to the 1960s when we're talking about distance education.
It's on the television.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yes. About that, but I wasn't really.
Yeah, no, well, obviously we've come a very, very long way, Sonny. And, right now I believe your team at ASCC and the students, everybody's looking to the fall semester, right? And getting ready for that. What can you say to the students and the faculty about what to expect come the fall semester?
Well, in accordance to the governor's Sixth Amendment of the COVID-19 or his declaration, all schools have been reopened. But depending on the nature of the pandemic, we cannot foresee what will happen in the upcoming days, upcoming months, upcoming years. But the college has its plans to continue with its online training and to make sure that we do train our faculty, staff, as well as students. As you perhaps have heard on media, that the college did not, for our summer session, we only allowed continuing and returning students to participate in courses offered this summer. We didn't want to open the doors, or we withheld opening the opportunity for new students for the mere fact that we're going to have to train them with some kind of online component to make sure that if anything happens in the upcoming months, that they are prepared to take courses online. The difference between a new student and an online or a returning and continuing student is that they have gone through that online requirement through several general education courses that we offer that requires Moodle. Yeah. So all new students will have to go through that same orientation. And as a matter of fact, the college has plans. I believe next week we will be launching registration for new students. And we're doing that in advance so we can make sure that we walk them through the specific procedures to prepare them in case the schools are closed again.
Right. So you guys do have Plan A and Plan B ready, just in case.
Yeah. But according to the governor's latest amendment on the Sixth Declaration, schools are open. But still, the college will continue to plan and to ensure that students have the skills in order for them to take courses online.
Great. I just another quick question. With the the shift, it's a tremendous, cultural shift and a paradigm shift to move from your traditional teacher-student classroom setting to doing everything virtually. I think for a brief moment, granted, it seems like forever, but for these past 3 or 4 months, we've seen the potential now with this broadband and the technology we have, and it perhaps might be opening up some eyes. It certainly sounds like it's falling in line with an initiative that ASCC has already got some traction under. But looking forward, do you expect to see lasting change, or are we going to go back to the old way of doing things? And this question can be asked of ASCC, high school and elementary schools as well. What are some of your thoughts on that, Sonny?
Yes, Sunny, you laid out, a spectrum of things, right? From needs assessments to evaluation, to policy, to funding and affordability, right? So that whole spectrum of evaluating something, right? How, if it works, and then how do we move forward? I think that's a vision, right? That's your vision as where we're going with the use of technology and education, that tie-in. So I think that's exactly where we need to go, right? So continuously evaluate on how we can improve things, from the classroom to the tools that we use, and then to a policy and territorial level, right? So I do applaud you for that. And as always, Sonny, you're a very thorough person. I have known you since, when we were developing curriculum, because that stuff was down to the minute, right? Like, okay, 1 minute setup, transition your side. Like, oh my gosh, Michael, it was down to those kind of details where we had created those lesson plans. But
And my OCD side on her.
yeah, absolutely. So, well, I wanted to thank you personally, right, for taking the time to talk to us about where ASCC is at, and especially with these trying times, and then where we're going, right? It is that instant and availability of information, as you mentioned before, broadband. At the time when we were defining broadband as 1.54 megabits per second, that it opened up access to information, and that's part of why we are part of this working group, right? So to develop that vision, to identify those needs, and then a roadmap for moving forward. So thank you, Sonny, for sharing with us today.
Remiss if I don't acknowledge the report of the Board of Higher Education, as well as our president. When the list of questions came, I had to forward it to make sure that I don't speak on behalf of the college, but to make sure that I do document on factual information in plans and what challenges the college had undergone these past few months. But again, thank you so much, Mike and Ginger.
Thank you, Sonny. We appreciate your time today. Thanks a lot, and take care.
Michael, it sounds like education in American Samoa has come a long way.
Right.
Yeah, that chronology that you started off in the 1969 all the way to what Sonny had shared with us. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, 1962 to be specific, but yes, it's a long road. Like we had discussed previously, when you're trying to develop a roadmap and a vision, and that's what we're doing with this broadband strategy, right? We're trying to map out where we want to go, and then very specific steps on how to get there. But part of that process is knowing where you've been. And so it's very important that from time to time we stop and we take a look back and recognize, how far we've come, accept how much further we have to go, and then of course thank those who put in all the hard work to get us to where we are today. So yeah, no, that was a great conversation with Sonny. I really appreciated of course meeting him virtually and having that discussion.
Yeah, I think so too. So many different pieces added up to where we are today and where we're going. That vision that he shared today, I thought that was fantastic.
Right.
To continuously evaluate. That's really, you can't say that enough. And you can't do that enough because things are changing. The only thing what do they say? The only thing that's
constant.
Change. Exactly.
Right. Change.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also just one final thought, Ginger. Having the vision is essential, right?
Mm-hmm.
But going back to one of my questions, will we see lasting change? And this conversation is being had in numerous circles, on a number of topics. But one of my beliefs is that for real change to take hold and happen, it comes back to leadership, right? Strong, brave, courageous leadership and tenacious leadership, right? Being willing to, of course, take the baton and run with it, but recognize that you're going to hit bumps along the road. And yes, you get back up, you dust yourself back off, and you keep going. And so strong leadership is going to be key. And I think Sonny and the folks over at ASCC have a great, strong leadership team. And so, I'm very optimistic about where ASCC is going to go, how they're going to continue to leverage broadband, how they're going to, enhance the quality of education that their students get. And also the faculty, give them the resources to become better teachers, to be better administrators. We don't have to fly off island anymore to find these resources. And so I think this is just the very beginning for ASCC. And so it's an exciting time, obviously.
Absolutely. So with that said, thank you very much for joining us today. Join us next time for another edition to KokoBytes, where we keep your cup of Koko Samoa full and rich with innovative and creativity in American Samoa's tech community. Soifua.